And we are live.
Well, good evening, everybody. I managed to go live without uh, messing up. Thank you, Jenny, for
Thank you.
joining me because Shane made a double appointment. And I'm so
Thank you.
glad you are open to our chat. And we have tonight Tony and Cherie Rathman, and we will be talking about staticom. But before we talk about staticom, please, for our listeners, do introduce yourselves.
Yes. Hi, good evening, ladies. Mary and Jen. Thank you for
Hmm?
having us. My name is Cherie.
I'm Tony. We're the Rathmans,
Yes.
and we've been involved in the paranormal for over 15 years now.
hmm
And when we first started, I was a complete skeptic. I didn't believe any of it. I didn't think it was real. My father was a physics professor, and so everything I learned as a kid was science based, and spirits, entities, the afterlife wasn't really something that was talked about all that often.
Yeah.
But then Cherie got interested in it, and she tricked me on a Valentine's Day, and she said, I want to do something different this year. I said, okay, what do you want to do? She goes, I want to go ghost hunting. And I was like, oh, you're kidding me. But I had two choices. I could take her or have her mad at me until next Valentine's Day. So didn't want that. So I took her.
And
And
it's the best Valentine's gift ever.
oh, thank you.
Perfect.
But I realized after I found a location that was considered to be haunted that they needed equipment. So I bought her a night vision camera, digital recorder, and an EMF meter and said, okay, let's go. So I went, I played along, asked questions, took pictures. She had a great time. That was all I cared about. But when she got the stuff home and she started reviewing it,
Yes.
she was calling me over every 2 to 3 minutes. What's in this picture? This wasn't here when we took it. Whose voice is answering us? There was nobody else there. It was 3 a.m. We were in the basement, which technically people staying at the hotel weren't even supposed to be.
Mhm.
But she's like, whose voice is this? How is it answering our questions? There was nobody else there.
Right.
Well, that blew me away. And so I tried to debunk it for like a month, couldn't do it, and finally said to her, let's go back. Maybe there was a vent where voices were coming into the basement that we weren't aware of. Maybe there was outside lighting through a window that was messing with the photographs. Well, we went back. There were no vents. There were no voices coming through. There were no windows sending lights or shadows. And we came back with even more evidence.
And what's
And-
fascinating too, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're not
What's
interrupting.
fascinating on that EVP, I capture his first and last name. So I'm like, who's calling? How did this thing happen? That's where it started, the curiosity, then we keep going back, and we get more and more EVPs.
Yeah. So that's how we began.
Mhm.
And then we spread out not only to that one haunted hotel, but I think we investigated that over 50 times. But we branched out to other locations, historical locations, places that had paranormal activity, and we just kept going and going. And then now 15 years later, we're still doing it. But the fascination for us was in the voice. Getting EVPs was absolutely fascinating to me. And the reason being is because any other piece of equipment, you know, takes a snapshot of time, if it's some sort of camera or FLIR, if it's some other device, you get a blinking light, or you might get music playing, which is great, but it could not compare to me with a vocal response. I could tell whether it was male or female. I could tell whether it was an adult or child. I could tell their emotional state. Were they happy? Were they angry? Were they upset? I could tell what language they were speaking. I could tell if they had a territorial dialect or accent. I could tell this bucket load of information before I even focused on the response they gave to my question. And that to me was unmatchable.
That's great. It's not just crazy. And I wanted to ask you, if it's okay, was it your first time in the basement when you heard your name being said?
Yes.
Isn't what? And I know I've had it happen to me before when I go to locations for the first time and they say my name and I'm thinking, it's my first time here. Who here would know my name? And it's my very first time in location. Do you ever kind of question that? How did they say your full name, or did you introduce yourself at the beginning?
Well, not the very first time, I don't think maybe we did. I don't remember. But we had the same experience when we were focused on EVP, that we'd walk into a location for the first time and they'd be, hey, it's Tony. Yeah. It's the Rathmans. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. How is this happening?
Right.
Well, remember when we started, and I always tell this to Tony, you know, we have to respect this, you know, the spirit, you know, and I always do when we investigate, I always do introduce ourselves first so that they know and they can communicate with you, and, you know, I trust you as well. So I believe with that. And I told Tony to do that, and we start doing that.
That is true. But like we were talking about, when we go into a brand new location we had never stepped foot in before, they would call us by name, and we're thinking, how is this occurring? One of the things that we had to do when we developed Staticom was literally take a step back and evaluate what we believed reality to be and how it works, not only for this life, but for the afterlife as well. And what we did was we adapted a method called analytic idealism, which basically says that out here is universal consciousness, and we as human beings are a piece of universal consciousness. And everything that we're here to do, everything we're here to learn and grow, that information is still connected. We believe this is how mediums get their information from universal consciousness directed back to them. We believe that's how the voices come through. And we believe that in universal consciousness, or one mind, all information is shared. So if we shared it to some spirits at the original location, that information is shared with all universal consciousness, and that is how they knew our name at other locations.
That's crazy, isn't it? Sorry, my dogs are all over me tonight.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Understood.
Oh. Yeah, it makes sense. It does make sense. Absolutely.
It really is phenomenal. And that's why it makes sense for me now, not knowing, when I go to places and they know my name, and places that I've been to for the first time ever. And then they get to know my name, and it's kind of like, yeah, Jenny's back in the house, and Jenny's back in the castle, and Jenny's back in the museum. And you always, like Cherie was saying, you always walk in with respect, say, hi, I'm here again. I hope everybody's okay. And, you know, thank you. And you must stay. When we leave, you must stay. Thank you and good night.
Yeah, I think it's very important for that to, you know,
Agreed.
Mention your name and introduce yourself, you know, that you mean no harm or anything.
Agreed. The whole understanding that A, you're showing respect, B, that they trust you, and build a confidence with the other side is also what develops and evolves the communication. Had Cherie not said that when we very first started, because I'd walk in and just start asking questions, and she'd say, stop, tell them who you are, tell them why you're here, tell them why we want to communicate. That set the right foundation, which 15 years later is still allowing us to advance afterlife communication to boundaries that has not been seen before today.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Can you remember your first EVP? Well, apart from your name being said, Tony, what was the most, the creme de la creme, the like gold EVP, the one that kind of...
Sure. If we go back to EVP, the one that sticks out to me was, and it was the same location, but somebody responded, and I think I replayed the recording, and I asked, what's your name? And the name came through. It was a woman. Her name was Candy. And that one sticks out to me because we could go back to that same hotel. I could ask for her, and she would show up on the recorder responding, yes, I'm here. And that communication lasted for a month or two.
Yes.
And then we never heard from her again. I don't know whether she broke rules by doing that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I remember too, you had one about Dylan, and that is a strong.
Oh yeah,
and
that one was
very, very nasty.
Yeah, that was one of the darker EVPs that we had. But yeah, and they used my son's voice.
Yeah.
And I swore when I played it, it was him, but it wasn't. The things that were being said, he was what, 7 or 8?
8 years old.
There's no way he could have known or said the things that were said. And I was like, this is great. I still have that EVP somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, isn't it crazy the way they can mimic, making you play with your mind, thinking, what? I know still to this day, my daughters call me and say, Mom, did you call me? Did you call me? And maybe it's because I call them every 5 minutes and they're probably playing it in the mind again. But, in this house, there's things happening in this house and whatnot. And well used to it. They have got an award and,
that is the most scary. Yeah.
You have to stand your ground.
Yes.
I remember sitting here one night, it was about 2 a.m, my daughters were not here. I took out the recorder and I said, I know you're here. I've seen you. I've seen a little bit of you. There's just strange things happening in my house. And then I was sitting on my own, and then I heard my name, Jenny. And then on the recorder, you'll hear me saying, did you say something? Did you just try and say something? So you can hear me stuttering like,
right.
So I heard him on my left-hand side, and I have it on recorder. I still have it. And so he said my name. So it's great that, you can get the DVP and the EVP together to prove you did hear it.
Exactly. We've run into that too, where we could hear them with our own ears, and I've repeated stuff, and sure enough, it's right there on the recorder. It's said on the recorder before I said, did you just say whatever they said? And it's great evidence.
Yeah. Isn't it? It's brilliant. It's mad. It's mad. I love it.
Absolutely.
Oh, here's something I said. It's starting to rain yet again. That's my face is going, my cheek is going red. Fire is lit beside me. So I'm slowly going to go red. Mary, is there anything? You go ahead, Mary. I like to talk about EVP, so you have to be told to shut up.
Well, tell us about the development of staticom.
Sure.
You've been through.
Be happy to. So, like I said, as we were discussing, we first got just fascinated with EVPs. I wanted to know how these voices were coming in. I wanted to know things like, how is this happening? What's the science behind it? How can this be occurring? And we focused on EVPs for years. Then we moved to ITC. I saw spirit boxes start to come out. We played around with them. We realized that we could get answers, but they were hard to hear. They were buried in the static of the white noise, but we knew they were there. So then I said, well, let's take one apart. Let's see what kind of components are in it, and let's start building them ourselves and see if we can improve them. So we did that for 12 years and built, each one that we built got better. And the last ones that we built, the Evox and the Evox 2.0, we were able to get clear speech without the white noise affecting the audio.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Thank you. But the thing we could not change was we couldn't lengthen the communication. We'd get a word or two, maybe a 3 or 4 word sentence if we were lucky, but we couldn't get that communication to lengthen. And so we were searching for a way to do that. Well, then about 4 years ago, we had some friends that had done some research back through history to look at what was the most effective form of afterlife communication that wasn't either debunked or had serious scrutiny against it as maybe being faked. And the one that they focused on was called direct radio voice. And it was invented by a gentleman named Friedrich Jurgensen, who launched it, said, hey, I'm getting voices from the other side. He passed that information on to Konstantin Radava. Radava did experiment after experiment, was able to get same responses. Radava passed it on to a gentleman named Marcello Bacci. Marcello used it for about 35 years, bringing in people who had lost loved ones, letting them get information, communication. Bacci was also tested in lab by scientists. Scientists could not disprove or understand what he was getting. So we started out focusing on that method. That method was brought back. We were able to do it. We were able to get communication, full sentence answers. Then we said there's 2 complaints with ITC. The first is in the communication, that it's not clear, that scientists believe it's warbles and artifacts of sound, meaning you think your mind is focusing on pattern recognition and you're thinking you're hearing something that you're not.
Pareidolia, air pareidolia, something like that.
Pareidolia, auditory dualia, or whatever you call that.
And the other complaint was that you're claiming you're getting voices from the other side, but how can you effectively claim that when the base of your instrumentation is a radio? A radio is made to take RF signal in the atmosphere, turn it into either speech or music, both of which are speech. How can you determine reception from deception? And those were 2 very valid points. And that is what we set forth to eliminate the radio, to clear the speech, and to get communication without radio, without AI, without word banks, without any method of preset speech within the method itself. And that is how DRV went to Staticom, Staticom to Staticom 1, to Staticom 2.0, and now with the latest upgrade Cherie and I did to Staticom 3.0.
Yeah, so it's only using a white noise generator, purely white noise generator.
Correct. We replaced the radio with a white noise generator. A white noise generator is literally a computer circuit that will create every frequency from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz at a spectral frequency of 1, meaning all at the same level. When we realized we did tests with air conditioners, fans, running water, I taped mics to my car and drove around town, I could get voices. But the problem was that the level of it never stayed even. a car would pass me and it would fluctuate up or down, which made it hard to pull those voices. We realized RF signal wasn't used at all when our counterparts did a test in 30 feet underground in a zinc mine, which was a natural Faraday cage. Radio wave can't penetrate the earth that deep. Correct. So then we did a test with a sleep machine that had white noise on it. Sure enough, I got the response, but it embedded, because the white noise on it was a 3-second recording, not live white noise. So then we switched to a white noise generator. Sure enough, now we get full sentence with clarity, with emotional response, and it's mind-blowing. It really is. Even to us, it's still mind-blowing.
Yes.
And do you know what I do for my ITC? And people say, don't use mobile phones. And I don't use it for recorders or anything like that. Well, when I say recorders, I used it for someone would call me on my mobile phone, and we use WhatsApp. We used other inboxes and they weren't great. So we used WhatsApp. So somebody calls me, and I know now everybody who has investigated with me has taken it with them now as well. It's not new. I've been doing it about 8 years, and it's been out years before that. And so I used a mobile phone. So they ring me. I put my phone onto speaker. I leave my phone and my recorder in one area of the location. Obviously, you keep your recorder away from the phone because of interference. Then we go to a different part of the location. We sit, we're quiet. My dog is snoring. We sit quiet, and I will call out. Well, let me tell you, perfect, absolutely perfect. Where we had that long. Now we can hear things coming through the phone like, shh, shh, and I'd say to everyone, but we don't talk. I'm like,
listen, yes.
I'm talking. I know sign language, but I have to teach them sign language because they don't know sign language. So I'm kind of like, quiet, listen downstairs, talking. So you'll hear like a pot or a pan, or you'll hear noises, but you will hear a word coming through. One particular night we heard a word coming through, and the phone lit up as if someone was talking, and it was kind of like not a good word. And I have it on audio somewhere. I have it on audio where you can hear the guy who's holding the phone. Oh, well, he said, "Oh, bleep, bleep, bleep. Did you hear that?" And you can hear me saying, "I heard it." The responses that we got through, that you can't hear them saying it, but you can hear the noises like, shh, shh,
right.
And then when we take the recorder back, plug it into a speaker so we can do a playback, we had to check that area to make sure no one had broken into the location. So clear. And then there's one particular one, it sounds very robotic, but listen and listen and listen and listen and listen to it, you will understand it. And it was a long conversation calling for me.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Right. When we started doing paranormal investigation 15 years ago, my favorite equipment is actually, we have a tons of equipment right now we collected, but my favorite is my cell phone. And also when I record, I know the spirits, or I will get EVP when I hear my phone, the static sound. Remember that?
Every time. Static sound would come first, EVP would follow immediately. So anytime we heard static, we're like, okay, a voice is coming.
Yeah.
But one of the changes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Just when you said the static sound, I have a fantastic video that I must show you when I was doing a show, and I heard my name being said. The panel did not hear it. I heard my name being said, but when I listened back to the show, you can hear the static coming through my microphone. And I said, now listen. So I looked at the panel and they're still talking, and I'm like, you'll see me going, and I'm looking at the whole panel like, did no one hear my name being said? Did no one hear it?
Yeah.
And then when we do lives on location, and then we listen back to the live, you'll hear a man coming through and talking. It's always through the phone. It's great. Sorry.
So one of the other things through the EVP research that we did that we wanted to correct with a ITC and then moving to staticom was, when doing EVP, it's basically record and review. Meaning that by the time you hear the answer, you're no longer at the location.
Right.
You've taken it home. you've denoised it, you may amplify it, you may try to clean it up. We made Staticom do that all live in real time. So the difference between EVP and what Ernst Stokowski called ITC was to have two-way communication rather than just record and review. So Staticom takes the white noise in, it slows it down 50% in real time, because we knew that at times spirits would speak so fast, and this was shown to us by research, that you'd hear what sounded like a syllable. When we slowed it down 50%, it was full sentences.
Yeah.
And they would speak like we're speaking right now. So Staticom does all that, it filters it, and then because the live white noise through the white noise generator is at a spectral frequency of 1, when they speak, they'll hit certain frequencies of the broadband white noise spectrum, which is every sound the human ear can hear. Because people always say to us, what's the special frequency for spirits to speak? There isn't one. We've gotten them from 100 hertz to 10,000 hertz, and maybe even some out of that range, but that's the calculation we have so far. But they'll overlap a handful of the frequencies in the white noise. White noise is used in physics principle called stochastic resonance to take an undetectable signal either by the human ear or by a sensor, and a white noise allows it to be raised to be detectable by a sensor or by human hearing. That's the exact process Staticom is using. So when they speak, they cover a handful of frequencies. Their voice gets elevated up, but the white noise stays at its same level. Kind of like the difference between a single bee flying a foot from your head or the whole hive. With the whole hive, you've got multiple of those frequencies elevating that sound up, and then we cut the white noise off, leaving just the voice.
Brilliant.
I feel so far behind when I do my audio, and it's my recorders, download them and listen to them, and some of them are great, some of them I clip and get back to them. Hi Noreen, clip and get back to them and note them down and time them and so on, and I do it all on my own as per usual. I know people say, Jenny, send some work onto me and I'll do it for you. Thank you, but no. Thank you. I'll do it myself. But yeah, I kind of, there's particular, even like for myself and for other investigators that does not have this piece of equipment, what would your recommendation be if say we're just using recorders? What would your recommendation be for the best recorders?
Well, there's a couple of different techniques, and we're doing and about to do some additional research. We have a friend named Elisa Beaver who we're going to next Sunday, have her on. We're starting a new podcast called Voice Ventures, but she's got a method of getting EVP that I'll let her explain on the show. But definitely in doing EVP, if you add background noise, white noise, it elevates the ability to capture the EVPs. In fact, yesterday, I just released an article on our website that we have now determined that it's based on a theory. Back in 1949, a European philosopher ripped apart Cartesian dualism, Descartes' mind-body dualism theory. And he said, this doesn't make any sense. You're talking about a ghost in the machine, the ghost being spirit, and then the body being the body. But he ripped it all apart, saying that you can't classify the two. But that was the first use of the term ghost in the machine. And then in the 80s, sci-fi movies used the concept that computers, as they got more advanced, would develop consciousness and take over the world. Now that's sci-fi. But I released a definition of it now that says that consciousness can use the inner workings of recordings, radios, and computers to speak. And that is how staticom has now developed to 3.0, because we have realized it's there. We have realized how to take it, make it audible to human senses and into hertz levels that we can understand. EVP will be next for us to figure out how that can be done.
That's fascinating. Absolutely. We know how, and I know when I did a show before, and when the guest was asking me, and a fantastic guy, Dr. Kieran O'Keefe, and he was saying, what was the most you get from investigation? And I always say audio, EVPs, because silent or seeing is not as common as audio is. And that's why everyone who goes on location or goes on investigation always gets audio.
Correct.
And it is the most common one. The sight, the seeing, it's less common. It does happen, but your equipment doesn't work, or your equipment is not on, and it's personal experiences that you get. And I know when I've sent audio onto people and that wanted to hear it, and it's very clear, and they were like, "Nope, can't hear it, Jenny." I said, "Listen," and I'm like, "Oh my God, listen." And I said, "Can you not hear it?" It's like I get daughters who are 14 and 21 I say nothing and they listen. And I said, "You tell me what you heard."
Yeah.
And they will say what I've heard. And I said, "Right, if you can say the same thing as me, I'm happy with that. If you can't, then, I'll keep going over it and over it and over it."
Right.
But
it's because it takes a learning function to the ear to be able to understand how they speak, at what speed, that they break words in patterns that we may not. But that was one of the things with staticom that we wanted to correct, so that when scientists or academia or skeptics, there was no doubt about what was being heard, no guessing at what words were said. And we have achieved that.
Yeah, because sometimes it's frustrating when everybody trying to review your EVP, and this happened to us all the time before staticom, and we're arguing whether, no, I heard this, no, it didn't say like that. So that is the most frustrating part. But with staticom, you won't argue.
You don't have that anymore.
That's like a dream. It's like a dream. When I was doing a show, and there was one particular EVP that I was have my friends in New York calling out through a video. So they were calling out of my location. So when I did the audio, I heard the word phenomenon. Because of what we do. It was great. It was a male, and it was great. And then I had done an EVP show, and I put up some of the EVP work and so on and so on. And one of the guys said, "Oh, I hear," and he gave this 4-word sentence, and I'm like, "Oh my God, bang, bang, bang." My head on the table. He's just saying one word. So it's kind of, they're not trained. The ear has to be trained.
Correct.
They're hearing a 4-sentence response to a 1-word response. Phenomenon. That's it. Phenomenon. Yeah. It's kind of like, I'm going down the shop and I'm going to get some milk, and I'm like, no, it's not. And I had to kind of like, "Jennifer, take it down a notch, calm down, they don't hear what you hear." Then I had to kind of relax with it and just say, "Yeah, I heard this." Okay.
That's the exciting part, when everybody, agrees with you. Oh, yes.
Well, we had to get rid of that skepticism about what was being said, and that was one of the main priorities. And along with removing the radio, not being able to get any sort of transmission, not satellite, not walkie-talkies, not ham radios, and staticom has no ability to do that. It's a closed circuit system. There are no mics. There is no AI, no word banks. These voices shouldn't be there.
Yeah. And even the Google Translator, when we play the clip, it will pick up the correct.
Google Translate will pick up the words being said.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So cool. Shall we look at a clip?
Oh, yes. Oh, Mary froze. There, she's back.
Well, the first clap spirits can be accurate and funny.
Spirits, can we play a little game? Sure? Okay, great. What am
Ah,
I holding in my hand? Spectacles. Spectacles, I heard, yeah. What else? What's the other name for this? What am I holding? Not holding shit. What are these? What's the other name for this? Spectacles is right. What's the other name? Low tone glasses. So that was actually last weekend.
Yes.
We had it. We were running it at the Bullion Plaza in Globe, Arizona. They had a day, a paranormal day, and night investigations.
And that location is in the basement.
Yeah, that's in the basement. But we ran it for hours, and I still haven't finished going through it. It was just answer after answer.
You could sit there and have a full conversation with them.
yeah.
You just sit there and talk with them. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's full two-way communication.
That's really, really. I'd be hibernating. I'm not peopling today. I'm staying at home.
I have another one prepared.
There should be no vocals here at all. But yes, there are. This should not be there. Spirits, can you hear me? You're not going to answer if you can hear me? Yes. Okay, thank you. How many spirits are with me right now? 6? 6. Thank you for repeating.
Are you guys in this room right now?
I didn't hear what you got an answer. Spirits, can we play a little game? Sure.
I liked where he said,
no.
If you're saying, where's Cherie? It's like,
right. They literally ask,
Yes.
and they will say our full names.
Right.
The information, like there was a clip where Cherie wasn't feeling well. She told me, I'm in pain, something's wrong. I had it on. I asked, I said, is Cherie getting sick? They said, yes. I said, what should she take? This word came through that I didn't know what it was, so I didn't respond, but the word was Percodan. So
do you have that clip?
Well, she's got the clips. It looks like she was playing those off my Facebook, which it's there, but she'd have to scroll through it. Oh, I do have it over here, but anyway, I looked up what Percodan was. It is a prescription strength narcotic for pain.
Yes.
And we've noticed that they will answer and have 94 to 95% accuracy in the information they give us. Yeah. So one of the things I said to Cherie is we have to use this method for cold cases. Mm-hmm. It is hard enough for people to go through the grief of a loss, but it is twice as hard for somebody not knowing what happened. And if staticom can pull forth the answers to redirect investigations, we want to do that.
Yeah.
I definitely, that would be, you know, when you have mediums and they will, you know, find, because I watch an awful lot of cold cases, and mediums will find the person, but I'm still not with it. You know, I'm not with it. This.
Yeah, I mean, I have a concern too when I have a third party interpreting what they're receiving and then telling me what they think they've got. Staticom avoids that. You hear it directly what was said, which we also do basically live presentations to the public. They can come up, ask their own questions.
Mm-hmm.
They can hear the answer for themselves.
When are you coming over to Ireland?
Anytime. Anytime.
Come over. Oh my God, you can stay in my house. Come on.
It's amazing what it can do so far. We've been blown away.
Yeah. We also tested this, and one of our friend asked us, I believe,
the Train Depot?
No, not, you know, asking the guy what he needs to do because he's not feeling well about it.
Oh, yes. And they gave an answer which was basically a barometric chamber. He was having severe health problems. And we said, what can he do to maybe help improve his health? And the answer came back something about oxygen. And
oh gosh.
So the answer was a barometric chamber.
Yeah.
And whether he's done it or not yet, I'm not sure. But to get that kind of responses and understanding is amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Would you have it on? Would you have the staticom on? Would you have it on just running in the background in your daily? Just say if you're doing daily stuff, daily work, would you have it running on in the background? Just, you know.
We run it constantly because we're always running tests. That's how we went from DRV to staticom to 2.0 to 3.0. We are testing everything we can get our hands on. We are trying to include higher organizations to take a look at this. This is not normal. It is not something, well, I shouldn't say normal because we don't think there's paranormal. We think it's all normal. We just don't understand it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to say not normal is the wrong word, but it's a breakthrough on two-way communication that we can't 100% explain how it's happening. And we're hoping larger consciousness studies, afterlife studies are going to come forward to say, hey, let's take a look.
Yeah, we turn it on a staticom pretty much every day. Even though when we're cooking, we will ask, hey, spirit, it's kind of like, you know, we have somebody talking
conversation.
To us.
They'll make comments about, Cherie will say, what am I making? Spaghetti. You know, it's unbelievable.
It's so funny. They were talking to each other, and then so there is one of the spirit he said, I'm allergic to sex. I'm like,
well, that's the other cool thing about it is we don't have to speak. Yes. We can hear them talk. All we got to do is turn it on. We can just listen.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so jealous.
I
want one.
Right. It's like a spiritual eavesdrop to the other side.
I'm obsessed. I'm telling you now, I'm absolutely obsessed. You know, I can't say what I would do to get one on live, but
unfortunately, of Staticom 3.0, there is only one in existence at the moment. Now, we've been asked many times, when are you going to release this? When are you going to make it public?
Yeah.
The only option right now is by a gentleman named Keith Clark, who shows some initial formatting that can be put on your computer where we started years ago.
There's a class to how to start, you know,
this method.
So, and then people will try to, you know, figure out themselves like what we did
over the years. But that was where the whole ghost in the machine came from, and why I took that phrase and turned it from basically a criticism of Descartes' mind body and took it away from sci-fi. This is a reality.
Yeah.
We know those voices are there. We know that white noise is what's elevating them to our hearing. And then, of course, we did everything under the sun to clear that voice. Now, that's what's occurring. I know that's, and I believe that what occurs also with EVP. So we're going to take a look at that as well to see how we can clarify the voices in EVP. And if we can, we know we're spot on, because the voices in staticom are crystal clear.
So say if you had a recorder in a different part of the building and you have the staticom on. This is just something that ran through my brain like 2 seconds ago. Would the staticom, would it be the same person? I know you probably know answer for this, but would the same person come through a staticom as it would in a different room, or would you think it would be someone else different?
You mean to say like a remote, if we can do a remote?
No, she means like if staticom was running in one section of a building, and a recorder in another, with the same voices come through.
Yeah.
My answer to that, based off of the years of research, would be no, because they have control over where they're sending that vocal to and what instrumentation. Over years of doing EVP, we've had 3 recorders sitting out a foot from each other, but the EVP only shows up on one recorder, which means they are personally directing the message to the device. Otherwise, if it was a physical sound wave which travels through the atmosphere, every one of those recorders would have captured the same thing.
Right. Exactly. Right. I know there's a friend of mine who did it. He's a great guy. And he likes to do experiments, and I watch them and I take some of them on, where he placed 3 recorders under glass, polyester, and cardboard to see which would pick up an EVP. Only one was the polyester cup.
Wow.
That picked it up. He does great experiments, John Griffin. He does great experiments. So I would take some of them on board as well and do some of that. I know I have all my audio work done, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do now? I don't want to do video work. Anybody got audio work? Send it on to me.
Hey, Mary, do you by any chance have either the one labeled responses or fourth round of something?
Check. I can go to your page.
Can you not share it?
Yeah, otherwise I can probably share it.
You can share it.
Just so that like that basement we were in was kind of echoey. Let's see. What is that? Hold on, I gotta put my glasses on.
Okay, it is.
My dogs are barking.
Oh, your dog. You're grand. Jeez, you're grand.
Responses.
Right here.
Okay, so I'm gonna open this up and pause it, and then I'll share the screen. So this was like 3 nights after we got it working. This is in my house. Hold on. Present. Share screen. I want to share audio, full screen. There we go. Share. And then it should be on the bottom of your page showing the screen. If you just click it, it'll add it to the...
Is it the present?
Yeah. Yeah, it's right there.
Yes, got it.
It's on the bottom. There you go.
Yes.
Okay, now I can play it. So this is in our house. This is the second night after we got it working. This is the kind of communication I'm referring to. So let me play this. Come on, mouse. You're not cooperating. There we go. Hide. And play. Rathman, I heard you say Rathman. Yes. What did you want to say to Roger? It's Tony. Spirits, can you hear me? Yes, okay. That was a loud voice that just answered. What's your name? That's a strange name. How many spirits are here with us right now? A lot? A lot, yeah, that's what I thought you said. Because there's so many of you, is that why all the background chatter? They're talking? Do you have any messages for us? Rathman, I heard that.
That's just like having a, my gosh, my neighbors would look in the window and say, Jenny, you're talking to yourself. Little do you know, I'm talking to people.
Right, and that's what we were trying to keep going, because even in Staticom 2.0, we'd get some real clear sentences, but then it would disappear. And what we would hear would be, and we couldn't understand. And I said, we got to fix this. We need to make sure it stays. 3.0 has accomplished that. The speech got clearer, and it literally stays that way until we either turn it off or they decide they don't want to speak anymore.
Right.
But we ran it for 3 hours that night at Bullion, and it just kept going.
I would get nothing in my house done. And we would say, keep an eye on my dog. So, he fell off the chair. And you know the difference, like with Spirit Box, the SB7 and so on. And people would say, and it can be like a radio from town, or like crossing by signals, or a radio station that just came in and gave you an answer that was just
right, not really an answer to your question. It just sounded like it
right
answered. Right,
you can hear from this.
Correct. It's kind of like talking on the phone, like a
right. It is literally two-way communication with different voices, male, female, different expressions. We had the voices analyzed by audio engineers, and they were blown away. They said this mimics human speech as far as consonant, vowels, diphthongs, emotional expression. It is identical to what human speech is, and that's impossible from randomness. So this is not anything random. Random's an empty drawer. It just means you can't break it down any further.
In the
we
haven't touched a spirit box in over 4 years because it's night and day difference.
You see, Sasha, you're gonna get burned. You see, now I'm kind of like doing this, and when I listen back to audio and I look at the wave pad and I see this big block of, oh my gosh, and now it's going to be and you'll hear me shouting, can you blah blah blah, and I'm like, I'm wasting my time. I'm giving myself a migraine with the earphones in, and it drives me insane. And I know some people have taken the white noise out of these. They've done something that they take something out of it to take the white noise away from it.
It still runs radio though.
Yeah, it's in the it's something Gary Gelka recently built in the last year or two. It's a clarifier where it extracts the voice and does other things to get rid of some of that additional white noise that's being displayed through the SB7.
You take the aerial out of it. They take the aerial out.
Yes,
not taking
AMC, I think, or ANC, something like that. Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
So, do you think, for the ones who does not have the Echo Box and so on, the Evox, sorry, are they still okay for
to use it?
Yes, they do work, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
The theory behind a spirit box was that spirits will take the fragments of audio coming from radio transmission and manipulate it into their own sentences. Now, there was a gentleman the other day that him and I got into this discussion. We don't believe that happens. we believe that when it hits a radio station, you've cut the communication from spirit. They don't need radio audio. So one of the last things I said to him, he goes, well, we've proven that we record the radio separately, then we record their sentences separately, and you can hear what pieces they've used. I said, if all they need is white noise, why even clutter the audio with additional radio signal?
Right.
I don't know if he answered that question back yet. I'll have to go look, but it's not needed. It's not needed.
That's it. I know. I have to look for a geek boyfriend now who knows how to make a machine.
I'm lucky. I don't need. She's very smart.
Well, we got lucky too. I mean, was I 100% sure that the advancements I was trying to make were going to work? No, we didn't. We weren't 100% sure. Yeah. But now we are. We know they work. We believe the ghost in the machine theory is spot on. They are using any type of electronic equipment, whether that be a recorder, a radio, a computer, to be able to communicate. Now it's a method of elevating that communication to the human senses. And that's what we did with Staticom.
Like I know when Mary asked earlier on as well. Sorry, Mary, I'm asking too many questions. You want to go ahead?
I knew on front, and it's no problem at all because we got so many answers on so many questions. So it's a great show. But the Staticom and the white noise, it's the same principle with the Gansfield method.
Correct.
Yeah, the active white noise, and you are blindfolded, and all the voices, what comes through, are spirit voices.
Very correct.
Yes.
And even people like Nikola Tesla, scientists, said if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Guess what noise is? Energy, frequency, and vibrations. And people always say to us, wait a minute, how can they be speaking if they don't have vocal cords? Real simply, you don't need vocal cords. If you get a sound from a guitar, where does that come from? Energy, my finger plucking the string. The string vibrates and produces a sound. And they'll say, well, yeah, but that's not the same kind of sound as vocals. I said, does your radio have vocal cords?
Oh, wow.
They don't. No, of course the radio doesn't. But what are you hearing? Speech, singing. How is that occurring? Energy, frequency, and vibration.
Right.
Yep.
That's it. And I know, Cherie, when we were talking about phones earlier on and how people say, don't use them on location and so on. I had a recording on my recorder, and I couldn't make head nor tails of it. Only a little bit of it, but not a lot of it. So I recorded it on my mobile phone, and whatever happened, whatever the noise at the beginning was, the best of the best could never make it out what was being said. But when I recorded it with my mobile phone, when I listened to it, it had broken down what was on my recorder. So I can make out what he is saying, what name he's saying. There's one particular part where she can be heard, but it was broken down to, I could hear exactly what's happening. And this was in a beautiful location of Lap Castle. Hi, John. How are you doing, love? So it was the phone again that broke it down. Don't know how. Don't know why. I'm not very tech. I kind of wing.
You can also differentiate, or you can also determine which one on your phone is the disembodied voice as well.
So when you did that, did you record on your phone the recorder?
Yes.
Okay. That's probably where the clarity got better. Because we noticed, like, when I'm standing in front of Staticom, right in front of the audio, I can hear it better when I go back and listen to the recording, because I'm not getting the initial overpowering vibration of it, so everyone else in the room can hear it. And that's probably the same principle, that if you stand back 20 feet or even go into another room, you can hear it 100 times better than if you're standing right in front of it.
Yeah, because when we're running the staticom in his studio, I go outside. He can't hear it. I'm telling him.
She's screaming the answers to that they gave, and then when I go back to the recording, I'm like, oh my God, you're right.
The clarity is better if you
aren't right in front of it.
Right.
It's just like the creme de la creme. Like a name was given.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know the location, and I remember when we were doing the ITC as well. We were sitting in Lep Castle on the second floor. We had the phone downstairs in the back room with the recorder. We're upstairs sitting around the banquet room table, and I was saying, right, we're going to sing a song, Ring a Ring a Rosie. And I said to Dave, okay, Dave, take it away. He did not know I was going to ask him to sing. I said, right, Dave, take it away. And he goes, I'm not singing. So I ended up singing, but we went downstairs for a coffee break, sat around the fire, put the recorder into speaker and played it back just to see, coffee break and so on. You hear that little girl, one of the little girls from Lep Castle saying, yes, David. Very clear, very clear. I was filming for TV last week. We've used that piece to go on the TV. That won't be aired until later this year.
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Do I have time to play one more?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So one of the other things that we wanted to make sure we did as we went into the research part of it, but one of the questions I had was, if I'm human and I'm using my vocal cords to produce speech, which produce sound waves in the atmosphere, another human can hear what I'm saying if they're in the range 100 yards, 200 yards of me. The follicles vibrate in their ear, which sends that vibrations to a liquid center of the ear, which then also vibrates, sending that vibration to the brain, which the brain interprets it as speech. But if a spirit no longer has a human body, and I'm creating vocal sound waves, and they don't have ears, how do they hear me speak? So that's what I'm going to play. That's the question I asked, and here's the answer. How do you hear me speak? Now, this is a fascinating answer for a variety of reasons. Before we got into Staticom, we were doing EVP research, and we noticed that at times the answer would show up on the recorder before I even finished asking the question.
Yeah.
This explains it. It is not through my vocals. My vocals have nothing to do with it. It is energy of the mind, which we believe is consciousness, transferring that thought process back to universal consciousness.
Yes.
This also supports the current scientific theory called survival theory, which is indicating from scientists that the consciousness may very well survive death. Energy of the mind fits that concept. So this was an intriguing response from them on how they're hearing what I'm saying.
That's absolutely mind-blowing.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got one more that I want to play just because, again, we haven't got into the research questions for 3.0 yet because it's so new. But this was a clip where they identified me. I asked them to say my name, and they literally hold on, let me restart this. I asked them to say Tony. They said my full legal name. And so what I ask them is, you know who I am. Can I know who you are? So here's that clip. Can you say Tony? Did you just say Rathman? Yep. So you know who I am. Can I know who you are? Yes, sir. Thank you. Who am I speaking to?
I'm so glad my microphone was on mute there because of my response.
But yeah, I mean, that was fascinating to us because how often do you get
Oh my God.
Outside of maybe your own, like through EVP, I had gotten my own name, but to get their name, and then people say to us, well, did you look that up? Did you research it? Well, there's two problems. One, we're dealing with audio only. I don't know if I spelled their names right. I don't know if it's got silent consonants in it that I'm not aware of.
Right.
And I also don't have a time frame. I didn't, because that was actually Staticom 2.0, and the clarity would come in and out. Where 3.0 holds it. So I could have turned around and said, okay, Chip, when who was president when you were alive? So I could at least get a 4-year time frame of when they lived, and then take the research further levels.
Yeah, or their date of birth.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
What year is it, and so on. That's oh jeez, I could talk to you all night. That's what I'll send you on 1 or 2 audios. 500 audio later. You're probably like, because mine now, and when I understand mine,
Excuse me.
and it's nowhere, it's clear, and some of them are class A. I don't know near like yours now. I need to brush up a little bit. I need to brush up.
Well, like I said, that was where we thought scientists lost interest, because they're like, you're fighting over what you think you heard. We think it's probably warbles and artifacts of sound that you're trying to say as speech. We wanted to make sure that we could correct that, so science can take a look with some security that when we play this in front of 30 people and all 30 people heard the same thing, that we've eliminated that issue.
Yeah.
Do you think science plays a part in it, that they don't want, they know it? Because they're not stupid people. They know it, but they don't want to admit it.
Well, I don't think that's probably the primary reason for it. Science has suffered from what's called the hard problem of consciousness from day one. The other concern is that science doesn't say what something is. Science will tell you how something's going to behave based on its elemental makeup, under what conditions. Science is only there to determine behavior, and they're very good at it. But science can't measure the things within consciousness, the wonderful flavor of chocolate, the depth of love. Those things are unmeasurable to science. Consciousness falls in that same category. Exactly.
Okay.
So then the problem becomes, if science says there's a 3D world out there, rocks, trees, water, but it doesn't have consciousness, but the human body does. If the human body is made up of the same elements as rocks, trees, water, how does one of those things with similar elements get consciousness when rocks don't have consciousness? That's the hard problem of consciousness, where science, we believe today, doesn't have all the information to understand it.
Right. Okay. I got him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got him. I think there was one piece of equipment someone had before, an echo box. So the word would echo, the voices would be echoed out, so you could hear it. Yeah. Somebody asked a question on location, said, tell me, what is Jenny's surname? Because it was, or is, Sunyasi. And it's not an Irish name. So what's Jenny's surname? Sunyasi. And I'm thinking, they're not going to get it. My maiden name is Sullivan. That's common. You can get that. But Sunyasi is not an Irish surname. So one of my friends said, Jenny, I can hear your surname. And I'm like, no, I can't hear it. You know, I'm just not tuned in tonight. I don't know why. I'm just, you know, when you're just not there 100% all the time. I got home, did my audio, and then it was probably about 2 or 3 in the morning. And then I can hear 3 syllables broken in. Son, yeah, see. And I'm like, what? And I went to mail my friend at 3 in the morning. He's a postman. He should be up at 3 in the morning to go. I heard it. It's from Mauritius. So the name was Son, yeah, see.
Yes.
Oh my God, I heard
It does that to Tony Rathman.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's another clip too. They
They
broke my
yeah.
name like that. You know, we have gotten some results also from applications that shouldn't be there. But what I always say about apps is that if my wife had to go have some surgical procedure done, and the doctor says, okay, you know, there's a 70-30 chance, 70 she'll be fine, 30 not. And they wheel in a piece of equipment, and that piece of equipment has a huge sticker on the side that says for entertainment purposes only. Yeah, I'm calling it off. I'm like, no. And every app has that disclaimer on it. So
Yeah.
one of the things, but we have gotten responses that were like, wait a minute, that's not possible. So they can produce things that we may not understand how they occur, but knowing how most apps are produced with word banks,
and you have a
GPS can tell you where you're at. It can determine your location.
Correct.
If you're close to a haunted location, can it choose words to start spitting out that fit? So we try to avoid those for those reasons.
This device was made. It's an Echo box. It was a wooden box, and everybody was buying them. And you plug this in, you switch the amp on, you switch this. It was kind of like a Ghostbuster thing. You switched all these buttons on. There's wires coming out, and
so this was hardware.
yes.
Oh, okay. Because there's an Echo Box app as well.
Sorry, BOX box. Oh, I know the Echo Box. This is the box. So when we went back to the location again, and I think I said, or someone said, do you remember Jenny's surname? And then it came out, Jenny. And then you could hear me going, and then bleep, 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 bleep. Bleep, bleep is like Jenny said things that I probably shouldn't say in a live.
Gotcha.
Mary knows me. And
Yes.
Listen, I mute myself, but it was like, Jenny. And you could hear the echo, and everyone said, oh, and I'm like, oh, something, you, something. And I have it, I still have it. And it kind of like took your breath away. And you think because I'm doing this 18 years, it's okay, I'm well used to it. No. And I'll never leave. And I always tell my children, I'll come back and haunt them. And their husbands, if their husbands are arses, I'm coming back to haunt their husbands. I know someone who knows to show me how to do it and whatnot, But and I told him what songs I'm going to be singing. So if you hear me singing this song, you know it's your mama. It's me. We gave those signals. But so I kind of frightened the life out of my children, so I have to stop doing them.
You're horrible.
You're trying to think I'm cool. Oh my God, I see your mom on TV. Just me. But I said, someone has to have a cool mom. Someone has to.
Yes.
Yeah, they
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we have come to the end of this live. We are going to talk some more in the background. But for now, everyone who's joined, thank you. Next week, we'll be back, and hopefully Shane will end up coming and not making another appointment and living our lives. Otherwise, I have to call Jenny again.
I'm doing nothing next week. I have no show on next week.
We will replace Shane if he does mess up again. Well, thank you.
Oh, that was
our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
And
Pleasure to meet you, Jen.
You too, Tony and Cherie. I'm your fan.
Yes.
And Mary, thank you for having us.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for
it.
having us on the show. We greatly appreciate it. We love talking about it. We love sharing what it can do. And we'll be doing that for
Thank you for
I never expect to be doing this 15 years, so I'm sure I'll be doing this the rest of my walking days.
Well, if there is improvement on your staticom, we get you back. And
anytime, just ask.
That's brilliant.
Brilliant. So I will share out all the clips I can, which crosses by. So again,
Awesome.
Thanks all, And
Thank you, guys.
till next week.
Thank you so much.
Happy Easter Sunday.
Yes. Bye. Microwave.
Oh, my big girl. Come on, darling.